Glendronach Revival, the re-release. How does that compare to the original Revival? Stay tuned for the Whiskey Whistle. What up, my whiskey people? Mark here from Whiskey Whistle on YouTube, sharing a little whiskey awesomeness from Winnipeg, the center of North America, bringing you Glendronach Revival, the re-release. This was re-released, I believe, in 2018, or was it late 2017? And everybody's so happy, so thankful that that came out. In fact, Roy over at Aquavite, he did a very nice show showcasing the new Revival when it had just come out. And this one is bottled in 2018, September 24th, so about a year ago. And this bottle also is on loan from Rick over at the Winnipeg Whiskey Club. Anyway, so that one is matured in the finest Pedro Jimenez and Oloroso Sherry casks from Spain. So very interesting. I should have grabbed an old one. Give me 1 second here. Oh. Yeah, I've also got a couple old ones that I'm hanging on to for good reason. One of these is from 2013 and the other from 2015. The 2015 is a bit older. That's the 2015. And let me just read you the front of this one. Matured in Oloroso Sherry casks. That's it. So they've added a different casking to the new one. Okay, so that's 2015. And I'll open up the 2013 as well. Okay, that's a 2013. Again, same thing. Matured in Oloroso Sherry casks. Matured in Oloroso Sherry casks. Okay, so that's there. Beautiful, right? And let's have a look at, first of all, colors. Do they differ? These are roughly the same color. The 2015 is perhaps just a shade darker, but it's pretty imperceptible. I can just barely see a slight difference there. I don't know if you can see that better from your angle. But this one is a little bit older. Alongside the review, I'll post a link to something that tells you about the ages of these older Glendronach. And about a year and some ago, I put out a review of the 21-year-old. Anyway, what about color differences between, let's say, this 2015 and, that's the 2013, pardon me, 2015 and the 2018? Any color differences? Now, it's a little bit harder because they are different fill lengths, but if you look at it from the side, you might be able to see that. And I can definitely see that there is a couple shades difference in color between the two. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. What I have here, let me just get this out of the way. There's too many things on the shelf. What I have here is a sample of my Glendronach 15 review from, I think that was 2015. Okay, so we'll pour that one as opposed to pouring out a brand new bottle. That's why I saved them. And you might remember that I have this, You might remember that I have my Whiskey Whistle whiskey archives. And I've got quite a collection of old whiskeys that I've had on the channel. And this is one of them. And that's one of the reasons why I'm doing this, so I can compare old and new. So here we get the fruits of my labor for, I think, the first time anyway. I think I've got to set that down there. Oof, that's heavy. All right, so let's pour that old 2015. Beautiful nose. We'll go about half in. And I'm going to save that other half for Rick to enjoy. Okay, so that's the old one. And let's pour a bit of the new one. And then, as we always do here in Whiskey Whistle, we're going to check out the color of these two whiskeys. We will check out the legs of the whiskeys. Then we'll check out the nose, the palate, and the finish for both of these. Whoops. Okay, there we go. Now, looking at these side by side, I can actually really see a difference in color. And it's quite a stark difference between the two, actually. Can you see that as well? Let me just hold those up and see if you can notice a difference in color. That is the older one, and this is the newer one. This is outright copper. This is more of a golden hue. Both natural in color, both 46% ABV. Slightly different casking. And let's use our lids for that. I need another one of these ones. They're nice, right? Another very interesting thing that's different between these two is who was handling the blending and bottling of this. Who blended the whiskeys? So Billy Walker was the one who blended the older one, and Rachel Barrie, she is a winner of I think Master Distiller of the Year, I think, and she handled the new one. Of course, she had the task of taking both Pedro Jimenez and also Oloroso to blend them together. That was probably a corporate decision, I would imagine, or else it was a supply decision because of lack of supply, either or. From what I hear from good sources like Aquavite, that the new one is also very good. So let's see how these compare, shall we? Let's check out the color of both of these. All right. So what do you see for color? Again, quite coppery for the older Glendronach Revival, and a little bit more golden of a hue for the new Revival. Okay. And let's check out the legs. I think I'm going to change the order. Let's put the old one there, and we'll put the new one over here, because this is really a new review of a whiskey that I haven't tried before. So let's look at the legs of the new Glendronach Revival. Here we go. Pretty brisk legs, but well spaced out, and they're pretty thick legs given that it's 15 years old, 46% ABV. Quite nice. While we're at it, let's have a look at the legs for the old Revival. Well, in fact, they are slower legs. And I guess, as you should also know, this is actually older whiskey. This one is 15 years old. This one would be approaching 20, I believe. I think this was a 2014 casking of the original Glendronach Revival. Okay, let's leave that cap for a little bit. Let's get on to the nosing for the new Glendronach Revival 15-year-old. It's got a very spicy nose, but there's that typical waxiness that I associate with Glendronach. There's also a good amount of lighter dried fruits like Thompson seedless. So some nice raisiny notes. It's also got a very beautiful honey note that's quite nice. There's definitely a little bit of kind of like a rich toffee note. And I can already tell that it's going to be astringent just by the slight astringency that I'm smelling in the nose. A hint of sulfur there, but it's not in a negative way. All right, let's get on to the tasting then. Cheers, everybody. Some really great dried fruits on the palate. That's quite a nice step up over the 12-year-old, which is just sitting over there. Lots of great fruits there. The honey goes right through to the palate and onto the finish. The finish is actually medium to medium long. Some good sweetness carries on and on in the finish, which is nice. A slight astringency on the palate, not as much as I thought there would be. But overall, a very sweet, dried fruits and honey type of a very rich palate that we've got here for the new Glendronach Revival. Very nice. Let me have a little sip of coffee. And some water to wash the coffee down. All right, now let's get on to an old favorite of mine, the original Glendronach 15 Revival. What do you think? Is the nose going to be different? Again, that's all Oloroso versus Pedro Jimenez. These are two different whiskeys altogether. It's got a big waxy note. There's also some nice leathery notes in here as well. This is definitely an older scent coming from this glass. In fact, in terms of straight sherry notes like raisins and so on, I got a little bit more of that from the new Revival versus the old. The old Revival is very much a cask originated nose, but excellent casks and quite a bit older. Beautiful dark woods, some nice leather, some like beeswax. Well, I gotta say I like the nose of the old Glendronach Revival. The new Glendronach Revival is also quite nice, a little bit more fruit-centered. All right, on to the palate. Cheers. It's richer, it's smoother, and a darker dried fruit note coming through on the palate. I get some stewed prunes, a little bit of prune juice, as well as some raisins, as well as a good dollop of vanilla. I'm not getting a whole lot of honey here. The mouthfeel is also much more mouth coating. And the finish on this old Glendronach is sweet, a little bit of dryness, but a very long, flavorful finish. So far, I really like the old one. The new one I would definitely buy because I think it offers a lot for the price that it is. And for a 15-year-old, I think it does quite well. And that was also confirmed, by my fellow Winnipeg Whiskey Club members. All right, let's add a little bit of water there. We'll add just a tiny little bit, a little bit less than 1 milliliter. And to the old one. Okay, I think that was a little bit less than the first. There. Now, have you tried the new Glendronach Revival 15? If you have, please leave me a comment. And especially if you've compared both the older Revival with the new one, and you have your own thoughts about which one you like better, which one you think is a better value, then please also leave me a nice comment there, okay? Back to the new Revival with a little bit of water added. Let's see how we do here. Again, a nice rich honey coming there with that slight little bit of dried fruits, Thompson seedless coming through. Absolutely younger, but still very beautiful. A little bit of wax. Slight little bit of that polished oak note. It's honeyed, yes, but it's still got that nice sherry, dark fruit note there with the Thompson seedless. And it's like a really dark honey. And the finish also medium to long, very nice. Back to the old. Okay. It's like a different era of whiskey. So this would have been distilled. What year would that have been? 2014. I think it's 19 years old, so somewhere around 1995. This was even before Billy Walker had begun production in the unmothballed, the reopened distillery. Oh, that old oak, that prune juice and stewed prunes. It makes it really, really lovely. A little bit of vanilla added, and you got yourself a beautiful dessert whiskey. An exceptionally long finish there. One last taste of the new. There's a theme there for sure, but it's really just a matter of being something newer, a newer whiskey. That's Billy Walker Distillate and Rachel Barrie blending handiwork. This one is the former master distiller, whoever that was, I can't recall, and Billy Walker blended. But they're both beautiful. Quite a difference though. With this one, 15-year-old, let's get on to the WhiskyWhistle whiskey score. What is that going to be for Glendronach Revival 15, the new one? This is bottled in 2018, September the 24th. What's that going to be? Well, folks, the WhiskyWhistle whiskey score for the Glendronach Revival, the new version, that is going to be 87 out of 100. You heard it, 87 out of 100 is the WhiskyWhistle Whiskey score for the new Glendronach Revival 15. Do I recommend it? I absolutely do. Is it worth the price? Absolutely it is. Price-wise, the new Glendronach Revival 15 is about 62 pounds-ish. So that would probably round about $100 Canadian, maybe up to 120. And I think that's a pretty good value that you're getting, given that it's unchill filtered, no color added, 46% ABV, and an absolute sherried whiskey. That's fully sherried, which is beautiful, and I think it does a very good job of showcasing the sherry. It's a sherry bomb. This is I would call it a lower level sherry bomb. Beautiful. Now the older revivals, if you can find them at auction prices or at secondary prices, would that be worth it? I would say it depends on how much people are asking for. And if I could buy that at, say, 150 Canadian, I would probably buy some. If it were much over 200, I would probably say, you know, a little bit too much. Beautiful whiskey though. I hope you enjoyed that review of Glendronach Revival 15, the new bottling, and comparing it to the older, the original Revival. And if so, why not become a Patreon patron? That's patreon.com/WhiskyWhistle. You'll get your name in the credits, and you'll also get advanced viewing of the future Whiskey Whistles. Don't forget to subscribe to Whiskey Whistle by clicking that little emblem right over here that says subscribe. And hit the bell so you're notified of the future Whiskey Whistles. Now I've got more 15-year-old whiskeys coming up. I have Glenlivet, Glenfiddich, Glengoyne, and also Glenfarclas. Really excited, so stay tuned for that, okay? Take care, everybody. Goodbye.